Things just got worse and worse and worse as the night went on. Again, valiant effort down the stretch for the Bucs. Just too little, too late. Let's go down and let's see what Coach Fletch and the rest of the crew has to say. And as always, go Bulls. So let's head into the locker room right now and see what the guys have to say about that one. Wow. Where do the Buccaneers go from here? What an incredible atmosphere. What a good win for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They snapped a 7-game winning streak. How we feeling, Bucs Nation? It's time to party, baby.
Where am I at? There I am. Nope, that's not it. That's not it. That's not it. That's not it. That's it. There we go. We're here, baby. You know, some days you feel better than other days. And listen, I know yesterday was a Victory Monday, but there's just something special about today's program. And I am thanking you all for being with me. Welcome to the Recher podcast. It is September 23rd, 2025. I hope you and yours are having a wonderful Tuesday, whether you're here in the Tampa Bay area or abroad. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. And make sure, oh yes, that you're hitting that like button wherever you're watching the program from today, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter/X. And I want to hear from you. Questions, comments, concerns, put them there at the bottom of the screen. And if you want to get involved with the show today, you always can. Just click on the link right there in the chat, StreamYard.com/HPMVT8BQZ8. Join in on the program today. We got a good one, ladies and gentlemen. At 12:30 today, we will be joined by the brand new CEO of Athletics at the University of South Florida, the one and only Rob Higgins, joins us at 12:30 today. We were able to pre-record it before the program, and we will be ready to talk to him at 12:30 today. The great Marc Topkin joins us at 1:30 today. Rays insider for the Tampa Bay Times, as we find out the news yesterday that the Rays, the sale is going through. Bye-bye, Stu. There's a new sheriff in town. Zalupski. Get used to the name. Patrick Zalupski. Zalupski. And hopefully it's a new day here in the Tampa Bay area for our Tampa Bay Rays. We'll talk about a bunch of different things, including assigning to the Buccaneers practice squad. We're going to rank the 3-0 teams in the National Football League. Did you guys watch the game last night? Shout out to the Lions, man. I tell you what, I was wrong for the team. I guess I was wrong. I thought they were going to I don't know if I was wrong yet, but I thought they would struggle a little bit without their coordinators, losing Ben Johnson and losing Aaron Glenn in the offseason. My goodness, that was a statement win for the Detroit Lions last night against the Baltimore Ravens. Yeah, and you could say, Derrick Henry with the fumbles. Listen, they ran the ball right down the throats of the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore, in the entire tenure of probably their existence, it's not just the John Harbaugh Ravens. We remember this back to the Brian Billick days as well. Hard-nosed, physical football. They got out-physicaled last night by the Detroit Lions. Statement win for Detroit. Congratulations to Dan Campbell and the crew. They earned that victory. Very, very impressive there. A couple other things. The Lightning preseason opener last night. Great to see that. Andrei Vasilevsky, the news there. I'm going to give you my opinion on him at 1 o'clock today. And my biggest takeaway from the game last night, and I've been saying this guy's name for the last year and a half, and I think he's the key to the Lightning closing the gap with the Panthers. It's this one guy. It has to be him, because I don't know if it's anybody else. This one guy at 1 o'clock today, we're going to break it down, and we'll discuss that. And then also Bruce Pearl, after 11 years at Auburn, he has decided to retire. His son is going to take over. But it's not so much about Bruce Pearl what I want to talk about today. It's more about the reaction to Bruce Pearl's retirement from one of the big-time giants in the sports media. We'll get into that, and I'm going to give him my 2 cents. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms. Yesterday, I posted a video of my, what do you want to call it? My response to Drew Brees, and it's gone pretty well on social media so far. So again, at Recher everywhere. You see any of my stuff out there, make sure, please, that you guys share that on your platforms because every little bit helps, just like our sponsors help too. Let me get this up there as well. Boom, bada bing, bada boom. Real Sky in the room. How you doing? Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, 813-244-0956. And our new partner that just started yesterday, Evra Health. Man, just so cool to be able to have two sponsors, the tag team champions of the world, the double champ, as I like to call Honest Hammer, because he was the world heavyweight champ for being the first sponsor. Now he's the tag team champ too. It's a beautiful thing. The only way we're going to be able to keep this thing rolling is by our sponsors. It's by buying our merchandise that's going to be coming out here soon, our memberships, which are starting up soon, and then also the super chats. We had more super chats this past 30 days than we've ever had before. We want to keep those going, man. Whatever you can do, $1, $2, $5, $10, $20, whatever you guys can do to contribute to the program. Every little bit helps. I cannot thank you guys enough. Nathan Elliott in the house. What's going on? Let's get to some of these again. Questions, comments, concerns, leave them there at the bottom of the screen. Benny gets the first slot today. David Terry, I know it's only preseason, but Bolts are off to a good start. Greg DeCruz, Ola, have a great show. Watch the replay. Vet Day for the pup. We'll keep an eye out for you and thoughts and prayers to you, Greg. Finally, a breath of fresh air. Stu is gone. Dolan, I figured Lions would be okay, but very surprised that they beat the Ravens. Way more surprised with how they did it than that they actually did it. Hello, Tampa Bay. Nathan Elliott. What's going on, buddy? Hello to all the degenerates out there. Again, kill that like button, everybody out there that's watching. Kill that like button, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, X, all of you guys. The conversation's unbelievable. All right, so a couple things. Let's get into some Buccaneers talk. We'll rank the 3-0 teams here in a little bit. So first thing, and we just saw this a little while ago, and it is that, and Greg Allman from the, I was going to say Tampa Bay Times. Not Tampa Bay Times no more. Not the Athletic no more. Fox Sports. Greg Allman has let us know that the, hold on, sorry. Okay, two big things. All right, we're talking about that. I'm looking at this as well. Okay, hold on, guys. We're getting all this new stuff for Mike Evans' injury too. Hold on. All right, so Desmond Watson. The big news today, Greg Allman, initially, was Desmond Watson signed back to the practice squad. He's met the weight requirements for the Buccaneers, which is a beautiful thing. We want to, commend him for doing that. Now, will he be back for the game this weekend against Philadelphia? From what I'm hearing, it's no. But would we be surprised? Honestly, would we be surprised if he did come back? I wouldn't be. How could you? Big dude, but good for him. I've always said it's way more about his health than being a football player. He's got to get healthy. Got to get healthy. So important. Now, the other big news that has just come down, we've seen it about 20 minutes ago, is, and Lady Evil saying they didn't stop the rush. I think you mean tush push. I know what you're saying, but I don't necessarily know if they necessarily need him for that because they've been able to do it without him. Now, no Kalijah Kancey, that could hurt, but they know. And I think another thing that helps too is the crackdown from the league. They're looking at this a lot more closely as far as guys lining up in the neutral zone, as far as guys, with the false start on some of the guards and some of the tackles. So, yeah, I mean, you may not be able to vote it out, but they're going to officiate it a whole hell of a lot closer as well. Jacobian, good for Desmond Watson, even if he doesn't play. He should be in a healthier place now. Okay, so the other big thing to me is we were going to find out today because that is when the MRI was going to happen. And this is from Jeremy Fowler from ESPN. We're going to put this out so everybody can see it. Hold on, folks. There we go. Boom, boom, boom. From Jeremy Fowler and ESPN, the Bucs are bracing for wide receiver Mike Evans to miss 2 to 3 weeks with his hamstring injury per sources. The injury is not considered to be as bad as last year's, and Evans plans to work to get back as soon as possible, possibly beating the timeline. So great news when it comes to Mike Evans and how long he's going to be out for. Huge news for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I didn't think it was going to be as bad as what we saw last year. It was just different the way he came off the field on his own power. And now, right now that we know that, okay, what I also wanted to do once we heard this news is, and there you see Jeremy Fowler. I also wanted to look at the schedule, and I like the ESPN schedule. Just it's a little bit easier to read and also has some other information. So I want to bring that up for you guys as well. So what games could Mike miss? 2 to 3 weeks. He wants to beat that timeline. So let's take a look at that together right now. So you see it on the left side there, right? He's missing the game against the Eagles this week. He's probably going to miss the cross-country flight to Seattle to take on the Seahawks on October 5th. But you start looking at that October 12th date. At home against the 49ers, 1 o'clock start. Could we see Mike Evans back there? Maybe. Now, we know the next 2 games, and regardless of how bad the Saints are, they're 0-3 right now to start the season. We know how divisional matchups are. You just throw the records out. But the game before that, against the Detroit Lions, that's going to be a fun one. That is going to be one heck of a game. Monday Night Football in Detroit against the Lions, a 7 o'clock start on ABC, on ESPN, 2 of the heavyweights in the NFC. I think that may be a little bit more of a realistic return, 1, 2, 3. But yeah, now that I see that, I'm sure he probably, if they're hoping that he's going to be back less than 2 to 3. And listen, Jeremy Fowler says 2 to 3 weeks, and you see it right here on the screen. Jenna Lane, his compatriot, says 3 to 4 weeks. Let's just say he'll be out 3 weeks. He'll miss 3 weeks. Eagles, Seahawks, Niners. I mean, could that Lions game be the one right there? I think that's what I'd be putting my money on. There's no reason for him to be able to rush back. You need Mike for the long term. And I know it sucks. I know there was a stat yesterday of Mike missed the time of the hamstring injury the last couple of years. Does that have to do with him? Does it have to do with the weather in Florida as far as hydration goes? We see that a lot. We've seen that a lot. And I know there's news of Philadelphia coming down here a day earlier to get acclimated to the weather. Bro, one day is not going to help. One day is not going to help. You need to just hydrate. And I wonder if that's something that the Buccaneers training staff can look at maybe going forward, especially early on in the season, of more IVs, more, just liquid, more just whatever, using those electrolytes, getting back into the body. Because it's just like every year it's become something. It really has. So Mike Evans, I think that's the best news that we could get. I didn't think it was going to be more than 4 weeks. So we're hearing Jeremy Fowler 2 to 3 weeks. We're hearing from Jenna Lane 3 to 4 weeks. Greg Allman, our guy, says Mike Evans is expected to miss 3 to 4 weeks with what is a moderate hamstring injury, not as significant as what he had last year. So I know some people are saying, well, it's not as bad as last year. How is he missing the same amount of games? Well, with that being said, I think it means that when you look at the timeline, it could be on the front end of that rather than on the back end. It could be 3 games missed, 2 games missed, and not 4. I think that's great news right there. I want to see Christopher Cole. I'm with you. Jason Jones is a behemoth of a man. I'd love to see him in there to help with the tush push as well. Nathan Elliott. Yep. Richie P. I'll take it. We just need him healthy for that November run. Jacko Bluntly. I'm hearing you, buddy. I am hearing you. Gonna hurt not having Mike Evans against Detroit. I think he'll be back by that game. Think about this. Detroit Lions, Monday Night Football. Right there in the Motor City, that building is going to be rocking. And the Buccaneers could possibly have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Tristan Wirfs, all back. How great would that be? That would be badass. Let's get these guys. Think about it like this. All the bitching and moaning that people, you hear that all the time in sports and with sports fans. The Bucs have not been anywhere close to 100% yet this season, and they're 3-0. That's got to be a scary proposition for their competition as we go throughout the season. Chris Cole, hopefully they get Evans Godwin. Where's Luke Chia McMillan back for the Detroit game? Not going to get McMillan back. He's a second half of the year guy, but maybe Gedeke because he was on the injured reserve. So he's got to miss 4 games. So Jets, Eagles, Seahawks, Niners, we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully, a month off can certainly help him. One day early might exhaust you more. The Eagles are funny. It could. It could. Lots of factors going into this Eagles game. Can the Buccaneers overcome the injuries that they have? This is going to be a very tough game on Sunday. No doubt about it. I think this is going to be just you think the game against the Jets was crazy? I think this one could get even crazier. Who knows? Because you have 2 teams that know how to win. They find a way. And we're going to rank the 3-0 teams here in a bit. We're going to save the Rays talk for a little bit later on. I'm going to cancel that. Hold on, guys. Because I had a scheduled post for the Rays stuff, and we're just going to... I want to make sure that we just focus. Let's focus on this. I don't want... Hold on. Oh, there we go. Yes. Figured it out. So it's tough, man. So it's tough when you do this stuff like by yourself and you have to. All right. So Rick Stroud, again, just tweeting out Mike Evans missing 3 to 4 weeks of the moderate hamstring strain. So, okay, I don't think this is the worst thing in the world. Not at all. Not as bad. And we just saw it. We saw it. If you were there, you watched him, and I posted the video as well. Didn't have as good a video as our guy Matt Matera from Pewter Report. It was a little late to the draw. But, yeah, it looked better the way he came off the field, which is good. You're right, Jacko. That Tampa Heat is different. It really is. 100%. I have migraines in my family. We get bad migraines as it is. But, man, it gets bad. If you don't drink, you don't hydrate, water, Powerade, Gatorade, vitamin water, whatever, man. What up, Jay Bird? What's going on, Bard Hill? Louis knows. You never get used to the heat. As somebody that's worked in construction for 10 years, you never get used to the heat. You just drink water. That's it. You just got to keep going and more and more and more. That'd be an insane lineup if it were to happen against the Lions. I'm with you, pal. I'd rather be lucky than good sometimes. We're on house money right now. Don't bring Evans back till he's ready. I'm with you, David Terry. I am not in that camp where we need to rush guys back or we're panicking. I look at the rest of the division. You got to win the division first. And, of course, I want to be the number 1 seed. I want to be the number 2 seed, somewhere up there. But the division is first. Take care of business there. But you can't do it if you're shortcuts and trying to rush guys back. You have depth. You have depth. That's why your wide receiving core early on in the season, you have as much depth as humanly possible. And, again, guys, when anybody ever tells you, we should trade because we have too many guys. You can never have too many guys. This week coming up, you don't have Chris Godwin. You might have Chris Godwin. But to end the game last week, you didn't have Chris Godwin. You didn't have Jalen McMillan. You didn't have Mike Evans. Where's your depth? Your depth disappears like that, and Emeka Egbuka becomes your number 1. Right? There's a good chance that Emeka Egbuka is your number 1 this weekend against Philly. So don't be so quick. Just remember this as a sports fan, regardless of the team that you're on. Regardless of the sport that you're talking about or you're watching, I would never trade from depth, ever. You have too many starter pitchers, it'll work itself out. You have too many receivers, it'll work itself out. Patience, my friends. Patience, especially early on in the season. Nancy Caro in the house. We got some USF coming up. Nancy's here. Defense has got to win the game. We'll see. We shall see. And my guy, Chan, always coming through with the $5 super chat. Thank you, Chan. Every little bit helps, guys. Be like Chan, $5. If the Bucs beat the Eagles this week and give Coach Bowles Coach of the Year on Monday morning, I still see people dogging Coach Bowles. I never get it. Honest Hammer, sub Jay and fam, sucks for Mike, and it's just shocking because we know they must take extra precautions to try and not have these happen. Stinks because a 1,000-yard season is in jeopardy. Yeah, we said it yesterday. If he misses that handful of games you're looking at, let's say he misses 4 games, then he has 10 games to get 860, I think it is. He needs 86 yards a game. Hopefully it's just 3 because then he'll need less. But you need one of those big Mike Evans, like 200-yard games, 180-yard games, a couple of deep, bombs to him. I'm with you, pal. Always shouting out love to our guy, Honest Hammer Custom Builders, 813-244-0956. Dirty Birds coming a day early, probably going to do more bad than good. Yeah. On a roof one day, an old frame around you said, whoever says you get used to the heat is a liar. Yes, no doubt. Is Rob Higgins coming through at 12:30? Certainly is, Richie P. He certainly is. We actually recorded the interview a little while ago, so we'll play it at 12:30 today. Chris Cole, Baker missed the game-ending TD pass to Ches Johnson. You got that right, and he said it as much too. And listen, Mike had a couple of passes I think he could have grabbed as well. David Velasquez, we all know Mike usually takes himself a 2 to 3 week vacation every year. Mac and CG will hold it down. I hope so. I like how you put that though, David. It's like he takes a vacation. It drives him nuts. I know. And you wonder if this is one of those things that contributes to, him possibly hanging it up at some point, right? Of like, dude, every single year having to deal with that shit is kind of a pain in the ass, isn't it? Yeah, I'm with you. We still got the Panthers twice. That's 250 yards right there, maybe 3. You never know. You never know, man. Sometimes it's not always the competition because you didn't have the greatest day against Houston, and they're 0-3, right? So you never really know. All right. Let's rank the top 6, or let's rank the 6 teams that are 3-0. There are 6 teams out there with an undefeated record in the National Football League. Where do you have the Bucs? Let's talk about it right now. All right, coming in at number 6, it is the Indianapolis Colts. Now, listen, did anybody see them going to be 3-0 at this point? No, especially knowing that your choices at the quarterback position were Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson. But Daniel Jones, it's just that reclamation project, Shane Steichen, and the job that the Colts have done, amazing. And a full congratulations to them. I've always liked Shane Steichen. I like what he's all about. I think he's one of those guys that can be also a good head coach as well as a good, offensive coordinator / play caller. In this division, it's right there for the taking. Houston has regressed. They have. They're tough. They're a physical football team. They're 0-3 already. 0-3 and 0-1 in the division. It's just not good. Jacksonville's 2-1. Tennessee Titans, we knew that they weren't going to be a factor because they were drafted. They were drafted number 1 and bringing Cam Ward in there. But Indianapolis at 3-0 on the season, you have to tip your hat to these guys because they had one of the biggest, I think, blowouts, and maybe not just by the score, but just by the play in that week 1 performance against the Dolphins, 33-8. Then going up against one of the best defenses in the game in the Denver Broncos, they win that game 29-20. It helps that both these games are at home, and then you go on the road and play Tennessee. So good on them, 3-0. Do they move to 4-0? No, I don't think so. They go to LA to take on the Rams next Sunday, a 4:05 start. I think that is when it all comes crashing down. But shit, man, you never freaking know. All right. The rest of the teams are pretty damn good teams. And I know it's weird to say this, but number 5, I'm going to go with the San Francisco 49ers. Now, a thrilling late win over the Cardinals to move to 3-0 on the season. They're already 2-0 in the division. And that is the best division in football as we speak right now, as far as records go. Niners at 3-0, Cardinals, Seahawks, and Rams all at 2-1. Really, any of those teams could make the playoffs, in my opinion. But the Niners, you look at their wins, they did the opposite of what the Colts did. They went on the road and won a couple of games. We know how those Niners-Seahawks games have been over the years. Doesn't matter who's in there. It's a hell of a competition. Back and forth. They win that game. They win kind of an underwhelming game against the New Orleans Saints, and then they come home and they win a dogfight against the Cardinals. Now, listen, are they as good as they were a couple of years ago? No, I don't think so. But they're 3-0. 3-0 is 3-0. So you got to give credit where credit is due. Number 4, to me, I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Chargers. And I know others may be higher on them than I am, but I look at the division as a whole. I think some people going into the year thought that this could be the best division of football. I'm still not as sold on the Raiders as others. There's room to grow. And I think Denver may have possibly taken a little bit of a step back. We know Kansas City's not where they once were, but 3 divisional wins certainly helps. 27-21 over the Chiefs, 20-9 over the Raiders, and then 23-20 over the Broncos. Harbaugh just doing what Harbaugh does. He's been trying to build it in the trenches. They invested that first-round draft pick on Omari and Hampton to help out a guy like Justin Herbert. You bring Keenan Allen back, good vibes. Quentin Johnson seems to really be taking his step into being that guy they thought he was going to be coming out of TCU as a first-round pick. So, listen, it's worked out good for them. So, good for them. Number 3, there's 3 teams left. At number 3, don't be mad, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the reason why I have them at number 3 is more because of what the first 2 teams are all about rather than what the Bucs aren't. And also with the injuries. Like there's still it has to factor into it. Now, I love the way that they've been able to win these games at the end. But you lose that game to the Jets. Like, we're having a much different conversation this week about the Buccaneers. But a win's a win. I understand that. But they still need to figure some things out. I need to see more from the pass rush. Whether that's Hassan, whether it's Yaya, whether it's Chris Braswell, I need to see more. I need to see who's going to be that guy that's going to fill in for Kalijah Kancey. Still need to see Josh Grizzard really take that step forward. Get the tight ends involved a little bit more. Now, are the tight ends not involved as much because they have to, help block these offensive linemen that they just picked up off the street? Yeah, probably. But still, it doesn't mean you can't get a catch or two for Kate Otten, right? The wide receiving, the lack of depth because of the injuries, right? So that's why I have them at 3 right now. Number 2, it's the Buffalo Bills. I got Buffalo looking at what they've been able to do so far this season, and because you have arguably the best quarterback in the game with Josh Allen. He just that win he had over the Ravens, 41-40, just a dramatic victory, a ass kicking of the Jets and the Dolphins. They just took care of business. I mean, you look at Buffalo. They may not lose for a while. Like, Buffalo could be a team 3, 6, 9. I'm going to say it right here. Mark the tape. Mark the tape right now. Tuesday, September 23rd at 12:27 p.m. Don't be surprised if the Buffalo Bills are 9-0 when they host the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on November 16th at 1 p.m. Don't be surprised because they're already 3-0. And listen to the rest of their schedule before they meet Tampa Bay. At home to New Orleans. At home to the Patriots on Sunday Night Football. Then they travel to Atlanta, to Carolina, home against the Chiefs. Then that'll be a tough one. And then they go to Miami. So, I mean, they could win their next 6 games and be 9-0 before they face the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All right? You heard that here first right here on the Jay Recher podcast. Is it going to happen? Probably not, but it could, because especially their next 4 games, yikes. All right. I just saw something on there. Hold on, guys. I always want to make sure when breaking news comes aboard that you guys go and you hear. All right, let me finish this, though, first. Number 1 has got to be the Philadelphia Eagles, right? Until somebody knocks them off, you got to give them the number 1 spot. You have to. And especially they find ways to win. We can't laud the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to their ability to be able to come back and to win these games by any team, by any ways necessary, right? And then be like, well, Philadelphia needed this at the end. I said this yesterday. Said this yesterday when it came to Drew Brees and his whack-ass comments. Dude, a win's a win. A win is a win. All right, some breaking news on the NFL side. The Giants are benching Russell Wilson, and rookie Jackson Dart will start in Week 4 versus the Chargers. Multiple sources tell Jordan Schultz from the Schultz Report, hey, whatever. Season's done anyway. Who cares? Who really cares? Get the young kid in there, see what you got. Brian Daboll has to do that, because if not, I mean, you're going to go out and you're drafting the quarterback for the next guy, right? It just doesn't make sense. You're drafting your quarterback for the next head coach. So, oh well. All right. So, Buccaneers need to do a better job. Blah, blah. Good stuff here, guys. They are the number 1. David Terry. The Bucs are going to knock them dirty birds off their effing perch. Yep. And Dave Velasquez. The great part in all this craziness with these injuries is that we are still freaking undefeated. You got that right, my friend. All right. We recorded this before, and we're going to bring it in right now. And it is the new CEO of athletics for Rob Higgins, the myth, the man, the myth, the legend. We love Rob Higgins. So here is our chat from before about the future of USF. Enjoy. All right, he's here with us, the new USF CEO of Athletics, our good pal Rob Higgins. And Rob, first off, congratulations, man! We're so happy, and this is I tweeted or put this on Instagram yesterday. It's a match made in heaven, man. I'm just so happy for you and for USF. This could not have been a better union. How excited are you, man? Now that you've kind of got a couple of days under your belt.
I'm fired up. I mean, my feet have not hit the floor yet since the announcement. It came out a couple weeks ago, like on a Tuesday afternoon, I think. And I think everybody was expecting me to start October 1st, but I think at probably about 5:30 that same day, I walked in the building and broke out my laptop and started to get to work. And so I've been in most nights and some early mornings. And last night, I think I got out of here around midnight, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Now, I will say I'm not a sociopath because yesterday was my 24th anniversary. But my wife had to get my son back to college and came back. So don't anybody think, trust me, there's going to be a lot of long nights and hours, but I am not dumb enough to do that on my anniversary unless I've got a full hall pass, and I did last night.
Nice. All right, so a lot of people, and I watched the whole thing yesterday. I couldn't be there because obviously I had my show to do, but I watched the entire thing. So great to see you and all the support that you had there from all your friends and dignitaries around the Tampa Bay area. But for those who don't know, what's the big difference from being, just a vice president of athletics or an athletic director or CEO of athletics? Because you're not just the first CEO of athletics at USF, you're the first one in the country. So how is your job different than, let's say, your predecessor, Michael Kelly?
Well, I think as you've seen the evolution of college athletics, you've seen just everything that goes into that role. This chair has changed dramatically from a year ago, from 5 years ago, from 10 years ago. And some of my best friends sit in the same seat around the country, either for some of the top schools and athletic programs in the country or the conference commissioners as well. And what I would tell you, many of those folks are certainly CEOs. So I think it's putting more of an appropriate moniker on the position and how it's evolved. But then it's also having a vision for where it's going. There's so much that ties into this. Certainly the running of the athletic programs is ultra important, and student athlete experience will be the focus of anything and everything that we do. But then you look at all the different stakeholder groups that now tie into it. You look at the need to be a true revenue generator with sponsorship and fundraising and ticket sales and the marketing needed, all of those different things. This is a high-powered 9-figure professional business corporation, and we've got to make sure that we're acting as such. And so I think that's what has me so excited. I'm excited on a variety of levels, but just the opportunity at hand with the great alignment that we have between the trustees, what will end up, I'm sure, netting out in terms of them nailing the presidential search hire, and then all the different stakeholder groups. There's never been a better time to be in college athletics, and there's never been a better place to be than at USF.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you and I have agreed on this for many, many years. Of one thing that really grinds my gears about some of the mindsets is like, oh, it's a burgeoning market or it's growing. Like, we're here, like we are a top market. I don't want to look at here at this place like we're like the Little Sisters of the Poor, or like we're a stepping stone kind of thing. And I know you have that same kind of mindset, Rob. So how does that kind of change as a whole? Is it a conference realignment in the future? Is there other steps that you can take along the way? Obviously, something like an on-campus stadium definitely helps. But how do we? You and I are convinced, but how do we get like that to be kind of the national mindset for a place like USF that we know is in such an incredible city here in Tampa?
We got to have a plan, and we have a plan. We are coming with a very detailed plan. You can break it down very simply as we got to win the building, then win campus, then win the community, then win the country. but the days of relying upon the crutch of potential are over. I mean, I'll give you the analogy. It's like you can never ride your bike if you don't take the training wheels off.
Right.
And for us, the training wheels have been on for a really long time, and it's time to be able to ride at an elite level and make sure we get to where we need to go. So it's going to require rolling up our sleeves, having a lot of intensity, urgency, and obsession, and those are all character traits that we're going to bring to the table at a high level. And I think the results will end up speaking for themselves, and that's what it's about. It's about results. Again, there's no more patience for saying we're going to be the next anything. Right. We're here and we're going to get it done.
I love that. Rob, what was the process like waiting to find out if you were going to be the guy? Because I know you always have your boots to the ground. We've seen each other at so many events over the years. What was it like to finally kind of get that call to know that you were going to come home, being a old USF guy yourself, to finally get that call to know, and the decision that you had to make? Because I know, in knowing all the great people that you've worked with at the Tampa Bay Sports Commission, I mean, what's that conversation like? What's that decision like? Because it's not an easy one. And I always say that sometimes the toughest decisions in life are the best ones. I mean, it's great to go home, but you also had such a fantastic experience there with the Sports Commission.
Yeah, I mean, I think going into the search process, I thought Will Weatherford, Mike Griffin, and I were friends. And there was only a few times throughout it that I really started to question that based off of how hard they made it on me. I shared with the crowd yesterday, I mean, for a Super Bowl, it's limited to 10 minutes. You roll into the NFL owners, all 32 owners. Your job is to get 17 votes in order to land a Super Bowl, and you got 10 minutes to tell your story. And total combined effort, I presented for 10 hours. And that included to Will and Mike and Jay Stroman and President Law. And I'm glad they put me through it. I really am. Will called it a test. I'm glad I passed all the tests of it because this truly is a dream come true. But it's not those great heartwarming stories in terms of being a ball kid and student manager and working in administration here. That passion and emotion is very real, and we're going to tap into that on a lot of levels. But it's more about all the different lessons I've learned at the Sports Commission over these last 21 years, from marketing to ticket sales to fundraising and everything in between, student athlete experience right at the top of that list. But you hit on that question related to how hard it is to leave the Sports Commission. It is very hard. It is bittersweet because the people there have been so amazing. We are a team. We're a family. We've been in the trenches. We've always stayed lean and mean. We had a total of 8 individuals, including me, on that staff. And those folks had combined for more than 90 years together. So it is hard to walk away from that, but the calling was just too great here. I can't wait to see the Sports Commission continue to thrive and reach all new heights as well. And I think that is another aspect of this that's going to be incredible. You have 2 organizations that will only grow closer based off of this. I think it could be a 1 + 1 = 3 type of scenario, with us just continuing to find ways to be able to collaborate even more.
It's going to be weird for you at Sneaker Soiree being on the other side of the stage there, buddy. You're going to be in the crowd like the rest of us.
Yeah, it's going to be weird for me to be at board meetings, but I'd much rather be in the crowd just enjoying the free lunch and asking questions of the guys versus being the ones getting the questions. So there's some give and take there when it comes to both, but it'll be great to not have to deal with Titus in that regard one bit. I saw him yesterday. I will say this.
I saw the suit. I saw the green suit.
We had a great crew there, from Titus to Brooks to Rondé. Sarah Walsh emceed and was awesome. Jose Bautista and Cam Brate and Tino Martinez and this whole team, Tampa Bay. Definitely, there's some people that had not been to campus in quite some time, and some people that had never been before. And I think they're going to start to become regulars. But I saw a video of when Titus got out of his car and was walking up, and just the smile he had on his face, and the smile that he had when I took the stage. It was, you can't fake that. He's been such an incredible friend to me, as well as to everybody in Team Tampa Bay. And I look forward, with him having played at Florida, and him having a son there now playing at Florida, and him having a son playing at UCF. I can't wait to get some green on that man and making him a Bulls fan.
I can't. Oh, it's going to be so great. I kind of want to piggyback on that too, because you and I, and we've bonded over the years of our love for Team Tampa Bay. You being a guy from this area, me not, but I've been here 20 years, man. I was telling somebody yesterday, I didn't go to USF, but I freaking love that place. I think I'm going to get a T-shirt that it says that on the back. How do you tap into that Team Tampa Bay love to help USF? Right, Rob, because you were doing the Team Tampa Bay thing for so long, and you have your hand in a little bit of everything from, the college side to the pro side and everything in between. But now focused on USF, how can you use like the relationship with John Cooper and the Lightning and just everybody in the community? Can you use that? I know you said about your plan, but can you use that same kind of mindset, that same kind of footprint, the way you use that for the Sports Commission to help USF grow and prosper as well?
100%. In everything we do, we're going to lead from the front. So those relationships don't go away, despite how sad Coop looked in the video yesterday. They had a preseason game where he couldn't be there, but he said in this video, and I'm like, man, I'm not dying. Like, I'm literally just going 10 minutes north, and we're still going to get a chance to talk, buddy. But it was so nice of him.
He looked so relaxed, right? He's like,
to send that in. Yeah, he looked a little relaxed and a little distraught. I'm like, man, come on now. But we will tap into every relationship possible, and that includes them. I mean, you look at several of them had amazing college student athlete experiences, and I want to learn from that and take the lessons they've learned and make sure we're ingraining that in everything we do. This isn't me taking this from a leadership perspective. This is us, and it is all of Team Tampa Bay connecting with the university and finally getting USF to where it sits at the appropriate and deserving hierarchy that it should be. This is a humongous driver for our community, this institution, this athletic program, and to now make sure everybody is aware from top to bottom that just how special this place is something that I don't take lightly, and something that I'm going to be dialed in. I don't sleep a lot, but dialed in as I go to bed every night, and waking up thinking about ways to be able to connect our amazing campus to the community.
Rob, what's kind of the first short-term goal, maybe something that you're keeping your eye on over the next 6 months to, hey, I want to try to be able to knock down this first thing as we kind of start that trek forward towards the beginning of your tenure as the CEO?
It's a long list. I know this is a short show. However, I mean, one example is, our apparel partnership is in conversation right now. So I've been on a variety of Zooms since the announcement, making sure we have the right conversations there and are getting to a good spot with it. But football is mid-season now, rocking and rolling. Coach Golish and the gang has gotten off to this great start. So want to make sure as soon as I get here, I can help support in any way possible. And then basketball seasons are both right around the corner. And we've got several fall sports, winter sports, everything going. I mean, I think that's going to be the biggest thing, is making sure we're the ultimate teammate to all of them. And so I'd say that's just a couple of quick hitters in terms of things that I'm ultra focused on here in the interim.
What as far as the apparel thing, do we know when that's coming down? Do we know when that decision could be made?
It's one of those things that I have been ultra consumed with it again over these last couple weeks, as soon as I had the opportunity to start working on it. And I think we want to reimagine everything we do.
Right.
And that takes making sure we're tapping into every resource that we have to bring to the table as part of each and every relationship, and that we're maximizing it. So I don't have specifics to unveil just yet, but I can tell you it's something we're really focused on. We want to make sure it lands in a good spot. There's a variety of stakeholders that have obviously a keen interest on this, and we want to make sure that we get it right, and it's the right partnership for us today, tomorrow, and into the future as well.
Rob, before I let you go, last one for me, because I know you got to run. Just your final, like, a message to Bulls Nation out there. I mean, yesterday after you got a chance to kind of decompress a little bit, go to sleep and wake up, and was there anything that you missed? I mean, you're always right on it, man. When you speak to the public, you're such a fantastic public speaker, and I always tell people what makes Rob so great is I never feel like he's speaking at you; he's speaking with you, and that's something that in the media, especially in radio on the TV side, that's something that we strive. It's a never-ending battle, but. After looking back at yesterday and just everything, what's your message to USF and everybody here in the Tampa Bay community as we embark on this new great future with you as the CEO?
We're coming in a big way, and we appreciate the patience that they have had for us over the years. You've seen flickers of success. We're focused on creating a wildfire that sustains, and it's going to take all of us. It's going to take our entire village. I know that's a daunting task, but at the same time, we have a really special village here with Team Tampa Bay. So I just could not be more fired up. We appreciate all of Bulls Nation. The best is yet to come, and then the best is coming right now.
Beautiful. The CEO of Athletics at South Florida, our good buddy Rob Higgins. Rob, continued success. Congratulations. They couldn't have picked a better person. Thank you so much. I know you're busy as hell, man. I will talk to you soon, my friend. Go Bulls.
I look forward to it. Go Bulls.
Yes, sir. All right. So, what did you guys think? What did you guys think of the interview with Rob Higgins? Let me know. Questions, comments, concerns, leave them there at the bottom of the screen. Follow me on all social media platforms at Recher, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. Really great chat with Rob Higgins. And he said some huge things there. I think the apparel part of it was something that we haven't heard much of. The one thing that I think holds USF back is that you don't see enough USF apparel out there. And not a lot of it's affordable. A lot of it is super expensive. I mean, I've seen it even on my end when I worked on the USF football side. And you're looking at these polos and you're looking at how expensive they are. And the only ones you can get are kind of like these knockoff looking, like muted green ones. It's just like you need to have easier access for the people to be able to have stuff, to be able to don the green and gold. And then also for them, right? We need something that regardless of what the company is, regardless of where we're at. And I know right now that the USF Bulls are an Adidas school, but Nike, Under Armour, one of these other big-time companies, could they be the next company that USF goes with? I hope so. And it's not that I don't like Adidas, but I feel like going into the next level, going into the kind of the next, it's going to be a complete shakeup. And you saw it yesterday. If you watched any of the stuff with the press conference, you saw that this was a little different. And it wasn't a press conference. It was a celebration, like Rob said, during the celebration yesterday. And you saw that Derek Sharp was on there, and what everybody was doing yesterday, getting the whole crew ready for this entire endeavor. It's exciting, man. It certainly is. To be able to see Savannah Collins and Derek Sharp out there and how they've kind of worked together. And you see Sophia Chepnik from the lacrosse team. She was doing some interviews with different people and dignitaries that were there. It's different. And it started, I don't know if it started, but obviously a big part of that was Amir Abdur-Rahim, the late great, when he said, "This ain't the same old South Florida, my brother." That is something that is going to live, I just think, with all of us forever. And Rob Higgins is a part of that kind of transition now to no more, oh, we're going to do this, or the future is this, or it's happening right now. The change is happening right now. No more Mr. Nice Guy. Like, it's time for the green and gold to take its place, its proper place amongst the elite in the country when it comes to the colleges, when it comes to college athletics. I mean, this is one of the biggest cities in the country, biggest media market in the state. No more playing second fiddle I know they haven't been around as long as some of these other places, but you can see. Can you imagine at this college football? It all starts with college football. It starts with football. But just imagine if USF can have a run like Boise State did, can have a run like Clemson did. And the reason why I bring up those two schools is because it's not the Alabamas and the Notre Dames and things like that, right? Imagine if they had a Clemson-like run. Imagine that. And you're talking about a national championship here. Like, that would sustain. That would be something that you want to look back at those West Virginia days and what happened then. Like, this would blow that out of the water. But that's something that can live. Like, no disrespect to Clemson, right? But if that's something that happens right here in Tampa, Florida, one of the biggest markets in the country, that type of wildfire would never go out, ever. It would stay here forever. And you look at the money, you look at the NIL, listen, MK, for the people that maybe thought he could have done a better job, one thing that Michael Kelly did when he was here, right off the rip, is he embraced NIL. He saw, hey, this is where we're going. This is where college athletics is headed. We got to get on board, or we're going to be left behind. They were already left behind during conference realignment years ago. And it sucks because if the Willie Taggart and Quentin Flowers years happened a couple of years after that, we could be talking about USF in the Big 12, but everything happens for a reason. Honestly, I mean, do you follow UCF? I mean, I do here and there, right? But I don't know if they've really made the most of their, stuff in the Big 12. I don't know. Do you see them more prominently nationally? I don't. I mean, good for them. They're in the Big 12. That's fine. You're playing some games against some bigger opponents, and they haven't really thrived all that much. But what happens when that happens to USF? What happens when they go into a bigger conference? And this happens. I'm talking about all the sports. You guys have to realize this too. We're good at all these other sports, and we're winning some national championships, and we're making some headway in these other sports, and we're still in the American. No disrespect, but what if we do get into the ACC? What if we do get into the Big Ten? And now you're battling in all of these sports, and then you're making headway there. Watch out, because when USF is coming, as Rob Higgins says, they're not just coming with football and men's basketball. Women's basketball. Imagine when Coach Jose Fernandez gets into one of those conferences. Imagine when Coach Ken Erickson gets into one of those conferences on the softball side. Coach Hanna's on the baseball side. Coach Jenkins on the track and field side. Like this, I don't think everybody realizes what would happen when we have conference realignment. Because we're not just going to go like, oh, we're this upstart. We're going to join in. We're going to be at the bottom of the league. It doesn't happen. It's not going to happen like that. This is going to grow like wildfire, and it's going to just keep burning and burning and burning. And I'm telling you, man, in the next 20 years, I truly believe in my heart of hearts, if this goes in the right direction, USF is going to be one of the biggest universities in the country. Now, will it have the same history? No, of course, it's still one of the younger universities, but we see this kind of shit happening all the time across all the sports. When you grow and you continue to grow, and there's more assets and there's more money, like it's not going to stop. It's not going to slow down. It's just going to keep on going and going and going. And I'm just glad that it's happening right here in our backyard. It excites the hell out of me, and I'm sure it excites you too. All right. Now, let's make sure we show some love to our sponsors, man. First, the Honest Hammer, honesthammer.com. Let's check out the website real quick. Give my guy Russ a shout, man. 813-244-0956. Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC. They do everything for you. And listen, Tampa Bay sports fans, just like yourself, you always want to trust somebody when you're doing work on your house, whether it's a new build, they can do that. I was at their job site a couple of Thursdays ago. Or if you've just been, I got to change my bathroom, I got to change my kitchen, these are the guys that can help you out. You have no idea. Maybe like you have questions, right? Russ is the guy that can take care of you. 813-244-0956. Custom home builds, kitchen and bathroom remodels, new and commercial construction, interior and structural renovations. you can trust them. He's a Tampa Bay sports fan just like you. These are the kind of guys that you want to work with. I'm a big believer of watching how other people talk to other people. And when there was a bunch of workers at the job site that day, the way that Russ spoke to his workers, it wasn't like, oh, he just speaks like that because I'm there. You could just tell the rapport. The guys weren't looking at him like it was the first time he was being nice to them. It was just, hey, man, good to see you. Like, that's the rapport, and that's the conversation that they have every single day. That's the kind of guy you want to work for you. 813-244-0956, Honest Hammer General Contractor Company, CGC 153116. Email thehonesthammer@gmail.com or go to thehonesthammer.com. Again, 813-244-0956. Tell them that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast, and they will take care of you. They are not alone now, my friends. We have another sponsor, another partner on the show, and that is our good friends over at Evra Health. Look at what they do right there in the St. Pete side. Just check out this website. Go to Evra Health, EVARA health.com. And when you look at all the different things, if you're looking for healthcare services and you have a lot of questions, right? All the services here, family medicine, pediatrics, dental, women's health, behavioral health, chiropractic. Look at all this stuff that they do right there. They have a pharmacy on campus there. They can take care of you. You can schedule an appointment. You can find a location, English. Look at all the different languages they can help you out with here on the website. Give them a shout. They're a health center program, public health service employee. They can help you caring for the health and well-being of you and your family. Just look at these pictures of all these people that were helped by our friends at Evra Health. If you're immediately ill and you need help, 727-824-8181, or you want to schedule an appointment, you want to see, hey, can you guys help us out? About Us page, go check out their mission, their history, their leadership, everything. They want to help you here in the Tampa Bay area. So give them a shout, everhealth.org. Tell them that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast. We continue to grow here on the program. A big shout out to Evra Health and Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC. The stash in the house. I was saying this earlier when the football team beat the Gators. It's not just that team has been growing. The whole athletic program as a whole is on the rise. Higgins is the perfect man for the job. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. And thank you very much, Richie P, for the kind words. I truly believe in Rob Higgins and Alex Golish. And, some people I know were bringing up last week, and I even heard it some more on Sunday at the Buccaneers game. Well, Golish isn't going to be here forever. He'll go. Well, if he does, he does. He does. I mean, that's his prerogative. And if he wants to go to a big time school and do his thing, then fine. Then fine. That's his modus operandi, whatever he wants to do. I'm never going to fault people for taking a job they think it's the best decision for them and their family. That's fine. But during this time, I don't want to focus on that. I'm not focusing on the future of Alex Golish. I'm focusing on this team right now, what they need to do to get better. A nice win over South Carolina State. You did exactly what you needed to do. You beat the snot out of them. Now we get ready for next Friday night. Can this team put it all together and win a conference championship? You win a conference championship, you're in the college football playoff. Why not? I think it's well within their grasp. Well within their grasp to do that. Now we're talking about the best year. We're talking about the best year in school history. It was nice to get up to number 2. That's awesome. But it was just a little glimmer. It was just a little, like a little bit of you touched the brass ring. You didn't grab it and bring it down with you. You start playing in conference championship games. You start making college football playoffs. Now we're really cooking. And why not? It's not just offensively that gives me hope about this team. It's defensively as well. Defensively, looking at this team and knowing that they've gotten better in the trenches, and they're led by 2 outstanding linebackers in Mac Harris and Jalen Shuler. And I love the opportunistic mindset that this team has on defense, going after the football, making sure that they are a factor as well. Mac Harris with that long interception run for a touchdown. And there's some breaking news on the college football side. Oklahoma State has fired Mike Gundy. I'm 40. I'm a man. I'm 40. I'm 40 now too. I feel way younger than Mike Gundy when he was saying that shit at that time. Wow. Mike Gundy is gone. It has been an absolute dumpster fire there, and it's not surprising. It's not surprising that they moved on. A 1-2 start to the season. I mean, you just look at his tenure with Oklahoma State, and at times, they were right there. but after 20 full seasons, a position he's held since 2005, Mike Gundy has moved on. This was his 21st season. He was 170 and 90, 12 and 6 in bowl appearances. One Big 12 championship back in 2011, three-time Big 12 Coach of the Year, and a guy that, listen, you when you're anywhere for that long, respect. Former Oklahoma State quarterback. This was his dream job, and 58 years young. He's there you go. He played with how crazy is this too? Dude played with Thurman Thomas and Barry Sanders. Heck of a career. I don't think he's done. I think he'll be back somewhere. You need a new, at times you just need a fresh voice. You need something new. And, you don't want to be the one to necessarily make that call when this is this is an Oklahoma State guy, right? Through and through. So it's a tough decision to make. And you're going to probably stick with him a little bit longer because of him and where he's been with and how long he's been there. But enough is enough. Enough is enough. It's time to move on, and for him to find a new home, and for the Oklahoma State Cowboys to be able to find a new guy leading the front there. And like you said, Adam, he was a lifer there. No doubt about it. Okay, let's talk some Lightning hockey. You guys ready for this? All right. So, once again, no Andrei Vasilevsky at practice today. 4 days in a row. Am I concerned? Yes. Yes, I am concerned. Because for a guy like Vasi who wants to be out there so much, for him not to be out there, I think is a problem. Is it long-term? I sure as hell hope not. And even though Jonas Johansson played pretty good in the preseason opener last night against Carolina, this team, it's Vasi's that good. He's that important. I don't want to talk about kind of holding down the fort. I don't want to talk about munching points or treading water without Andrei Vasilevsky. That's not what I want to talk about. No, sir. Yeah, I think that's a problem. I think it is a problem. And the more and the longer it goes on, listen, it's not so much of like, all right, is it going to be a long-term injury? It's going to be out for a year. But I look at it as the more he's not out there now, he's got to get those back, that time back on the ice before he starts in the regular season. So the fact that he's not on the ice, even practicing with his team for a guy like that, worrisome. Don't like that at all. So hopefully, the Lightning do have experience. They got Brandon Halverson there at the AHL level. We know Jonas Johansson. They have a couple of good young goaltenders, but we're talking about Andrei Vasilevsky here. And he didn't look any worse for their wear when we were at media day last week. So I don't know, man. Not great. Tonight, back in action in Nashville against the Predators, 8 p.m. start. I want to give you the lineups for tonight. Who's going to be in there? Arzasi Pelletier played pretty good last night. Allard Santini, Oliver Bjorkstrand is going to be in there. So is Sam O'Reilly. So first time checking out Sam O'Reilly. Came across in the Isaac Howard deal. Zemgus Girgensons, Pontus Holmberg, Darren Radish, Rand Spada, Max Groshev, Boris Kachuk, Declan Carlisle on the blue line, Lucas Mercury, Roman Schmidt, Caden Petre, Gage Gonsalves, Halverson, and Hale will be the goaltenders. And then you look at some of the starters that the Predators have. Philip Forsberg will be in the lineup, Justin Barron, as well as Michael McCarrick, Nick Perbix, Eric Kalla, Michael Bunting, Roman Yossi, Brady Shea, Jonathan Marchessault, UC Saros, and number 91, Steven Stamkos. So from guys that could be in the lineup opening night for the Lightning, Bjorkstrand, Girgensons, Holmberg, Radish, Gonsalves. Those are the guys. So a handful, once again, going to Nashville to take on the Predators. They have more starters in. Last night, you look at who was in the lineup for the Bolts, and you see Lilleberg contribute, which was a really good sign. Offensively, defensively, they say that it takes a certain amount of time for you to be able to kind of get ready and to get used to and get acclimated to the NHL game. And I think we're in the process of seeing that with Emil Lilleberg. I thought he played really well last night. All right. JJ Moser got some action as well. But Lilleberg's that guy, the big physical dude that can go out there and really impose his will on these other teams. And, chip in offensively every once in a while. I love the communication or the connection that he's had with a guy like Max Crozier. We'll see, what the 6 guys are going to be here this year with this blue line. Also, Jack Finley, Mitchell Chafee is another guy to keep an eye on. Mitchell is a guy that not a lot of people speak about when it comes to this team and his importance going forward. He is a very, very tough guy, right? So, David Terry, do we know what the injury is? I don't believe so. Not quite yet. I don't know if it's upper body, lower body, whatever. Karen's in the house. Brandon H is like, I love USF. Wish we took them instead of UCF. No doubt about it, my friend. But when it comes to the Bolts, okay, I'm going to tell you guys this right now. Right now. One of the most important factors for whether or not the Tampa Bay Lightning will close the gap on the Florida Panthers is the guy that you saw last night. And that's Connor Geekie. You know where you're getting from Cooch and Point and all the top tier guys, but who is that young player that's going to push for more playing time? Who is going to be a guy that is going to give you a completely different element when you play teams? That, oh, wow, I didn't know about that guy. We always harken back to the back-to-back Stanley Cup wins, and everybody always talks about the third line. And what about it, right? And I think people, the farther and farther away we get from them, we forget what they really brought. And it wasn't about scoring goals with those guys. And it wasn't just quote-unquote like defensive play. And I know they killed penalties. Goodrow and Coleman together, and Gordo with Cirelli, or, Cirelli would be with Killorn, right? But it was their nastiness. It was their physicality. It was just like, we talk about like the Brad Marchand effect, right? That type of thing. We need a guy like that. We need some grit. We need some sandpaper. We need a guy that's not afraid to be the oil mixing with the water or the fly in the ointment, right? They went out there and tried to get a guy like that in Tanner Jeannot, but that was more of a kind of an answer to the next chapter of the Pat Maroon thing, right? I need a guy that's going to be a pain in the ass. I need a guy that's just going to be a handful, where if you're on the opposing bench, you're like, that dude just keeps on coming. That line just keeps on coming. They don't stop. And as much as we see that from certain players, we need to see it from Yanni again, but Yanni on a fourth line role, in my opinion. Look at what Brandon Hagel's been able to do, right? Okay, we need another guy like that. Maybe a guy with some size. Hello, Connor Geekie. I don't want Connor Geekie smiling and laughing and dapping people up. I want Connor Geekie to be a pain in the ass. I truly believe that if this team is going to be its best, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, Connor Geekie has to be on the first line with Braden Point and Nikita Kucherov. Now, he has to earn that right, but he is a guy that can be the best of the three, in my opinion. As good as Gensel is there, I think Gensel is good anywhere. But the best combination we know was Andre Palat, because he was playing a bigger physical game, going in the corners. Gensel can do that, but he does it with more slick, right? Rather than toughness and being able to throw his body around. I would like Gensel to be able to be on that second line with Anthony Cirelli and Brandon Hagel. I want the lines to be Point, Kucherov on the right, Geekie on the left. Cirelli with Hagel on the left and Gensel on the right, or vice versa. That third line, Nick Paul when he gets back, with Gage Gonsalves on one side and Oliver Bjorkstrand on the other. Then the fourth line with Gordo and Gergensons and Chafee or Pelletier or Holmberg or any of those guys. Mix them in. But that's my top 9. I know some people are going to want Gonsalves on the second line role or a first line role. I think Gage is good. I think he's gotten better. But is Gage Gonsalves going to be an 80-point guy in the National Hockey League? That's a big question that needs to be answered this year. We got to stop looking at this incremental. You have to be careful in sports when you're looking at incremental improvements, and that's where it stops. I like Gage a lot as far as a human being. Good dude. and we saw him get better. When he came up, he was a much bigger force, right? But if you're going to be a guy that is going to be a contributor on a team like the Tampa Bay Lightning, I got to see at least 65, 70 points. Last year with the Lightning, 24-25 season, he played in 60 games and we saw 20 points. That's not going to cut it. You want that guy to be a second line guy? Fine, but that's not going to cut it. Going back to Syracuse in his first full year with them, 32 points in 70 games. The next year, 54 points in 71 games. The year after that, 58 points in 69 games. Like, it's got to be more. It's got to be more. So hopefully a full year for him, but I don't know if he's that guy. If he's going to be on your third line, I'll take that. But a second line guy only getting around 50 points on this team, not going to cut it. Not going to cut it. And don't tell me it can't be done, because we just watched Brandon Hagel do it. We just watched Gensel and Point and Kucherov. These guys can put numbers up. 50 points is not going to cut it if you're going to be on the second line, if you're going to be a top six guy. Sorry. I think that the Lightning needs to have a little bit more of a higher standard and go from there. Sorry. Not sorry. Let's see. Any other breaking news in ESPN worlds? Jackson Dart, if you're just joining us, Jackson Dart is going to start for the New York Giants. Oklahoma State fires their coach Mike Gundy. Ryan Callahan cedes play calling in Tennessee after an 0-3 start. That's very, very weird. And then the Buccaneers news, if you're just joining us, we mentioned this at the start of the show today. Desmond Watson, according to Greg Allman, signed, and he will join up with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers practice squad. They looked at what his weight has gotten down to. They're happy about it. I'm happy about it. Really good sign for Des as health, more importantly than anything. And then also Mike Evans. Some people are saying 2 to 3 weeks. Others are saying 3 to 4 weeks. Mild to moderate strain, which is a positive sign. So let's say he misses 3 games, right? People are always wondering, can he get the 1,000? Can he get to 1,000 yards? He needs 860 more. So let's say he misses 3 games, right? Misses 3 games, 6 total. You have 11 left. So 860 divided by 11, 78 yards a game. Just a touch over 78 yards a game. That's doable. That's doable. But you need one of those big games. You need one of those $125, $150, $145 games. Hopefully it's just 3 games. And hopefully it could be 2. Big sign. Big sign. All right. Marc Topkin's going to join us at 1:30 today. On the program here, which is a beautiful thing. I want to get to something that Mark wrote about. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Also on the show this week, we're going to have, it looks like we're working on Chaz Nimrod, USF wide receiver, to see if he can join us on the program. Bob Harrick as well, from Sports Illustrated, to see if we can get him with us, because the Ryder Cup is this weekend. Bethpage Black. I tried to walk on the course at Bethpage Black one time, and I got shooed away like a little kid looking for an autograph. That wasn't fun. So yeah, there it goes. Just trying to look at, see if there's anything else out there. Yeah, man, just seeing all the responses for a guy like Desmond Watson. People were excited to see him back. Yeah, no doubt. Anybody watching that breakfast? Anybody watching the Barstool stuff on Fox Sports 1 in the morning? Raise your hand if you are. I'm sure I'm not. I don't watch morning sports on TV ever. That doesn't work. That doesn't work for me, dog. It doesn't work for me. Hold on, I gotta text. One of my buddies just texted me, which I don't like it. right, guys. All right. So thank you for bearing with me there. VA Green, the morning show sports shows are okay, but it's hard to watch. They're so heavy with commercials. Yeah, and I just think the same old bullshit too. Like, I don't want to hear the same old, and people just kind of going out and right. You're looking at a situation where people are just saying stuff to say stuff, and they're just trying to, get this new viral clip. I don't get it. It just bothers me a lot. All right, so one of the other big stories in sports over the last couple of days was Auburn head coach Bruce Pearl. Now, Auburn head coach Bruce Pearl retired after a long career coaching college basketball, the last 11 years with the Auburn Tigers, helping them to not only be one of the best teams in the SEC, but one of the best in the entire country with a couple of trips to the Final Four. But the talk today isn't necessarily about his time at Auburn or his retirement, but it's the words about his retirement by one of the absolute giants in sports media, Michael Wilbon. So during a segment on Pardon the Interruption with his pal and co-host Tony Kornheiser, you guys know the show. I mean, obviously, Pardon the Interruption has been on forever with Michael Wilbon and his esteemed pal and co-host Tony Kornheiser. Wilbon seemed pleased with the news of Pearl moving on. He had become a divisive person, he said. It seems to me intentionally. And I hope there was pressure to just get him out, Wilbon said. Pressure to get him out? Not from what we're hearing. I mean, dude was killing it at Auburn. Divisive? Really? The guy who's shirtless at football games with Cam Newton chanting War Eagle in the stands with students? That guy? That's the divisive guy? The dude who was just honored by the Mike Sly Foundation for prostate cancer research for all of his work in his foundation, for his foundation, the Bruce Pearl Family Foundation, that has done yeoman's work, that has done so much for children and families dealing with horrible diseases and illnesses. That guy? That's the divisive guy? Now, as a proud Jewish man, Pearl has been very vocal about the war in Gaza and the Israel-Hamas conflict. And, Michael, we're not slighting that guy speaking on behalf of a cause that means the world to him now, are we? I mean, you might have to go back and start judging every coach and every player if we start doing something like that. I just find it incredibly fascinating that a man like Michael Wilbon, who has become a household name in the world of sports because of giving his opinions on a multitude of topics, is now seemingly celebrating a man's retirement because he has opinions that don't jive with his own. Forget fascinating. I mean, it sounds hypocritical to me. I appreciate all that Wilbon has done for this industry, but when you become the old curmudgeon that can't handle someone's perspective that you don't necessarily agree with, and you make it personal, maybe you should look in the mirror, because maybe you are the divisive one. We've gotten to this point now in this country, whether it's sports or otherwise, where if we don't necessarily agree with somebody, we say hateful things or choose violence as an outlet, or just totally disregard somebody because they don't necessarily agree exactly with what you believe. And this is something that just completely supersedes sports. It supersedes politics. It's just life in general. And we've gotten to the point where it's a lot, and it's just wrong. We have to be able to use our ability to communicate verbally to find common ground and to be able to build some type of trust and friendships and relationships. Like, it's just so crazy. Everybody wants to get so offended now because they don't necessarily jive with what somebody else says. I mean, obviously, the whole Charlie Kirk thing has a lot to, that was putting that type of thing right to the forefront there. And you're seeing a lot of athletes, former athletes, current athletes, former coaches, current coaches. Charlie Kirk said it himself, like, there's a lot of athletes that reach out to him and they say, we love what you're doing, but we're afraid to support you on social media because of the backlash that we get. That's kind of shitty, man, isn't it? And I don't know if you saw this, but Van Jones, if you watch CNN, if you don't watch CNN, but if you know who he is a guy that was going big time against Charlie Kirk, back and forth on social media, and you know, two guys on opposite sides of the aisle. And the day after Charlie Kirk was murdered, assassinated, killed, whatever word you want to use, Van Jones's assistant said, hey, Charlie Kirk was trying to reach out to you. And I don't know if you've seen this video, but you should really check it out, even if you're not big into politics. And I'm not either, but there's a lot of times where it crosses, man, and I'm going to always address it. I'm not going to shy away from difficult conversations. We're not going down the political hallway, and we're not talking about all that shit. We're not doing that. But there are things that are common sense that we definitely need to talk about. And Van Jones said, hey, even though this guy was my adversary, even though this guy was my mortal enemy, he reached out to me because he wanted to have a conversation. He said we could disagree agreeably. We can do this like gentlemen. And Van Jones was visibly moved from that. These are two guys that can't stand each other. Two very, very smart, articulate men with viewpoints that are on the completely different side of the aisle. And Charlie Kirk, and I'm sure Van Jones would have done it because he wouldn't back down. He would have those conversations. One of the best things I think in this country is Stephen A. Smith, not on the sports forum, but on the political forum with Bill O'Reilly and Sean Hannity, and talking about the differences in our country. We need to welcome those discussions. Sometimes they do get a little unnerving and uneasy, but we can't be afraid of those. We can't shy away from that. We have to be able to have discussions about our differences to find common ground. It's the only way we're going to live peacefully with people that look at life differently. I am a firm believer that the world is not black and white. There is so many shades of gray out there. But we got to learn about each other so we can peacefully coexist. I'm a firm believer in that. And we start getting into these issues where people in the sports world are disregarding people and celebrating people losing their jobs. Maybe not celebrating like, throwing streamers and having kazoos and going crazy, but I mean, just watch the disposition of Michael Wilbon. It was so like, oh my God, man, I thought you were better than that. We can't be here in this world, in this sports world, and look at one side of it and be like, hey man, love that you're out here for these social causes and justice and all these different things. And then look at the other side and go, that's divisive. I hope they were looking for a way to push him out. Like, you can't, that doesn't help. And one thing I don't like, and I've learned this, and this is from our old pal, Tom Jones, longtime writer here in the Tampa Bay area, works for the Pointer Institute now. Rick and Tom, the sports page for WDA, one of my favorite shows with him and Rick Stroud. One thing that Tom reached out to me and said one time, he goes, your opinion does count. You are one of the voices of the Tampa Bay area. And I took that so seriously. And he put me in my place a little bit because I said, the Buccaneers brought in Antonio Brown. Who cares? Bring in Deshaun Watson. Who cares about the lawsuits? If they don't care, why should I care? Tom said, you should care because your voice matters. And I get mad at Ian sometimes. He goes, nobody cares what I have to say. They do. They do. Not everybody's opinion matters, but there are certain people that when you do something like this for a living, your opinion matters. And people actually take heed into what you say. Whether they agree or whether they disagree, they know that it's coming from a place where it's educated and informative, sometimes entertaining, but you do your homework. I hope you guys glean that from this podcast, is that I'm not somebody that just pulls stuff out of my ass and I'm unprepared and I don't really care. I try to make sure that I have all of my bases covered before I crack this mic every day. You may not agree with everything I say. That's fine. But we got to get to a point where we can agree to disagree. Michael Wilbon saying things like that so flippantly. Last couple of years, some of the things that he said about Tampa and hockey and things like that, like it doesn't matter. It does matter. I take that very seriously, and I didn't at a time. I had to learn. What, 5-6 years ago? I don't ever crack the mic. I don't ever post anything on social media that I really don't care about. It's important, man. It is important. Got to make sure that if you're putting something out there, that it's well researched, that it's something that you truly believe, that it's not just some, hot take that you're just putting out there just to get a viral clip. And unfortunately, that's where sports media has turned a lot of people off. And they'll say, oh, the TV numbers look great in the morning and all these different. Yeah, because people put ESPN on TV just because that's what they've been doing the last 30 years. And if anything happens when it comes to breaking news, well, we'll find out right there. But as far as the morning shows and talking about the Cowboys and the Lakers and LeBron all the time, like, I could do without it. I'll tell you what, you will find me 7 days a week, twice on Sunday, reading TampaBay.com way before anything else I do when it comes to watching TV, sports on TV. I want to hear what's going on with our local teams, right? And I always tell you guys, support local. Our friends at the Tampa Bay Times, especially now. There's so many different times of the year you want to be able to support our local friends here at the Tampa Bay Times. But right now, with everything going on with the Rays, the final week of the season, we're going to get to Marc Topkin here in a second, but with the sale of the team and what John Romano has been writing, a guy that's been covering this team, him and Mark, they've been around this team for so long. Where else would you want to go for Rays news? Lighting hockey starting back up with our guy Ed Encina. So many different angles going into the season with the Bolts. And then, of course, with the Bulls, with Joey Knight, we got our guy Rick Stroud with the Tampa Bay Times. Like, there's just so many different things going on. I want to hear what my local guys have to say. I want to hear what my guys with the boots on the ground have to say. Guys that have been covering this team. I don't want to turn on the TV and listen to somebody's like, they don't really care about that. They're not really passionate about that. Are they? I'm not buying that stuff. So you can give me the TV ratings argument all you want, but for me, I want something that I know is going to make me smarter. It's going to make me feel a whole hell of a lot better. I mean, we go to sports for an escape from reality, as a release from the monotony and sometimes the chaos of our lives, whether that's our job, whether that's our family life. I mean, I watch sports to have fun. People, I know fan is short for fanatic, but shit, man, like, sports is supposed to be fun. People get so worked up and so angry, and they use sports as a vehicle to, hate on other people because of their beliefs, whether it even dives into politics or not. And it's sad, man. Take a breath, take a breather, go outside and take a walk. Always support local, man. It is so freaking important. And yeah, again, respect the hell out of Michael Wilbon, but to be able to sit there and then just act like your opinion, just because your opinion doesn't jive with somebody else's, I think that's a very, very slippery slope. And if you're a guy that has that platform and people, longtime writer, Pardon the Interruption is one of the best shows in the history of sports TV. And for you to just say, I don't agree with that guy, I hope they were working together, get him fired, like, that's tough. That's a tough look for me. All right, let's bring him in a couple minutes early. He is there in the hotel in Baltimore because, of course, he's a traveling man. It's the one and only Marc Topkin from the Tampa Bay Times. As always, support our friends at the Tampa Bay Times, TampaBay.com. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Good. Appreciate the plug there, Jay. It was very, very nice sentiments you expressed there, and we certainly appreciate it.
Thank you, man. And it's just, as a guy like me, people say, man, you learned how to read at such an early age. And I go, yeah, for me, that's how I learned how to read. When I was a kid, I opened up and I read every single box score there was in the mid to late 80s. And it's just every single team. And my dad, I think my dad used to like show me off, like, tell him what the Astros lineup is, and Billy Hatcher, and you know what I mean? Like all these different, tell him what the Mets and the Yankees lineup were. But that's my thing, man. Always reading the newspaper every single morning, cover to cover. And, it's a changing world, isn't it, Mark, to be able to go like on the digital side. And I know, like, it's not just deadline. I know there is deadlines, but it's completely different how you disseminate your information now.
Yeah, I mean, it truly evolved. I've obviously been doing it for 28 seasons. So I don't remember which year it was, but it evolved from news gathering and then writing, and news gathering, reporting, writing. It's all one now. It's just a matter of get it out as quickly as you can, then add to it. You're on call 24/7. There's news cycle is 24/7. I mean, yesterday I got word of the Rays sale and got the scoop on that, and it was literally in my head like, okay, I had the story kind of worked up because I knew it was coming soon. Do I finish that story first, and we get that posted, or do I just put something on social media first? Because there's kind of that race for who has it, and can I kind of do both? And I'm not that coordinated. I only had one keyboard, so I couldn't quite I needed a second keyboard there, I guess. But we got it done. We got it out. We got it on social media saying we had the story on our website, which was up in the next few minutes. So I think we kind of fed both monsters there. But yeah, it's a challenge. I mean, what constitutes a story? What constitutes just a tweet? Then you're competing with people who don't write stories that are just tweeting stuff. And obviously, that's just from the kind of print side of it. Obviously, people who have their own blogs and things, there's a different version than, people on podcasts, people on radio shows. There's just so many people out there. Everyone's kind of competing for the same thing. Like you were saying before, you'd like to think that, the sophisticated readers, kind of know where to go for what they're looking for and know who to trust. And, especially on, topics of controversy or things like that. And, obviously, promoting our paper, having seasoned reporters such as Ed and Rick and John and myself, really helps us. And Joey Knight on the college side really helps us, I think, with our credibility and our ability to, report things and sift through what's important and what isn't.
Yeah, and I want to ask you about that too, because the more that the podcast landscape has come in and everything, like people say, I've had this conversation with people like journalistic integrity. That was a huge thing that I knew coming into radio 11, 12 years ago. It was like, all right, well, this is important. But now it's so different because you're bringing all these different mediums, but they didn't get a journalistic degree. They didn't get a journalism degree. So it's a little bit of the wild, wild west. But I want to ask you, as far as, because you are the number one source for Tampa Bay Rays news on the planet. And this kind of goes into the conversation a couple of weeks ago about the AP voter that didn't have USF in the top 25. And I came on the show the next day and I said, listen, it's one thing if you made a mistake, that's fine. But to act like it's not a big deal, I know how important Hall of Fame votes are, and people pour through that and they want to make sure it's the right thing. And they take such ownership of that. And to have young writers just act like it's not, it'll work itself out. Like, I just feel like it's a disservice, like to somebody like yourself that really makes sure that, hey, I am putting all of my information behind this. I studied this. I try to give an educated, opinion when I have a decision to make like that. But as far as you and putting that, on your brain, like, how important is that for you to make sure that, like, your voice means something? Tom Jones gave me the earful years ago. He goes, Jay, you're one of these people that, like, your opinion does matter. Like, don't limit yourself. And it's one thing to be humble, but be cognizant of the things that you say, because it does matter to you, or it does matter to people. How important is that to you, Mark, knowing that, like, what you put out there, whether it's on Twitter or whether it's on TampaBay.com or in the newspaper, like, it means something to people?
I mean, I think, that's got to be pretty much the most important thing, right? Your credibility. Right. And I'm not the funniest person to begin with, but
come on.
I've been careful to kind of cut back on throwing even jokes out there or, borderline sarcasm, just because people interpret things in so many different ways and levels of sensitivity or a certain point, but you don't want to, harm your own credibility either. Right. And we've seen people who literally have sabotaged their own careers with a flippant tweet or a flippant comment on a radio show or a TV interview. And I think that has to be important. And as far as like the voting, and I think you were alluding to, it was a young reporter, and I think she eventually came out and said her reasoning was they'd get in there eventually or something. But it's a privilege to vote for things like this. And you have to be in the Baseball Writers Association for 10 years before you even get a Hall of Fame vote. So 10 years of doing that job, and that's, people should take it seriously. You earned the right to do that. And if you screw that up, kind of shame on you. And I know Adam Berry was talking about the other day, he'll be voting, I think, for the Hall of Fame for the first time this year. And I thought he'd been doing it for 10 years already, because I feel like I've known him for 20 years. And But yeah, there's a certain thing that comes with these opportunities, and you damn well better take it seriously and realize, as you say, you've earned this platform, whatever it is, but you've earned your platform, and you have to be responsible in what you do. And that's why sometimes you change your dinner plans and you drop what you're doing and you turn the car around to go write a story or put something out or update something, because you've kind of built a tradition or a legacy of being right and being accurate and wanting to make sure people understand and get the information out there. And that's why you kind of do it still.
Speaking of legacy, I guess we're coming to the end of the Stu Sternberg tenure here with the Rays. It's still a way. Some people are like, is this really going to happen now? And we've gotten burned how many times, right? To know, like, all right, this could be the end of the story. But just your whole take. I know you put out the story yesterday. I told everybody, start pronouncing and spelling Zalupski. Get ready to roll. But just take us through like yesterday and just kind of where we are as far as like the final transition from Stu Sternberg to this new ownership group.
By the way, that was a pro segue from the legacy thing. That was, he should be in radio.
I won. Yeah, it's a good thing. Maybe I'll try it one day.
Throw it out there for you, buddy. Yeah, look, I think we are at the end of Stu Sternberg's tenure, and it was I'm not even going to get into whether people should like him or not like him, and obviously there's some pretty hard cast opinions out there. I'll keep my own to myself, but I do have a piece in tomorrow's paper talking to some pretty key people from Rays past and what they think. Evan Longoria, Joe Madden, a couple people like that, and I think you'll find that interesting. And that'll post later today. But we are at the end. That was a very emotional moment for Sternberg the other night when they surprised him during the game Saturday. The players and staff came out of the dugout, tipped their hat. All the employees filed through. They had this all orchestrated. The hat tip with the custom hat with two of his kind of favorite things, one on each side, the silhouette of Sandy Koufax, his favorite player, but the other one was much more symbolic, the broken window. And that's one of his phrases that he kind of, his management philosophies is, it's okay to break some windows, just don't burn down the whole house. And then that's kind of how he empowers his employees. That's one of the things, I'm sure you've talked to people who work there, and look, not everyone's happy, not everyone loves their boss. That's going to happen in every workplace, but you talk to people who work there for a long time and do like working there. And that's kind of what comes to the surface, is the way he empowers people to do their job. And he'll question, he'll ask, but ultimately, if your job is to be the widget maker, he lets you make the widgets. And I think that's part of his legacy. I think you have to look at the wins, right? Third most wins since 2008. So you have to asterisk out the first 2 years as they were kind of getting their footing there. But since 2008, third most regular season wins in the majors, behind the Yankees and the Dodgers, I think it is. The Cardinals are like right behind the Rays, 1 or 2 games behind them. 9 postseason appearances in 16 years. Did they win the big one? No, they did not. And that was actually, I'll give you a little preview. That was one of the points Longoria raised in the article I'm writing, where he said, if you win one World Series, the perception of him might be totally different, because then you won the big one once. But I think if your job, if you own a team and the ultimate goal for the team is to win games, and you're the owner and the team wins a lot of games, I think that's a successful tenure. Now, there's obviously other factors. Didn't get a stadium built, was criticized for everything from where he lived to things like that, and that he didn't care about winning. I mean, I've been around enough games after games where I've seen him come in and out of the locker room. He cares about winning. He enjoys the victories, and he did not enjoy the defeat. So, it's not going to be perceived this way universally, but I think there's a lot of people who will tell you that, the Stu Sternberg era will be looked back upon in history very kindly for what he did for this franchise. And Jay, you've been around. Don't forget the context of where this team was under the initial owner, Vince Naimoli, who, again, deserves credit for getting the team here. But, those first 10 seasons, they were in last place, 9 of them. The one they weren't, they won 70. That would be 7-0 total games. And Lou Piniella, a man who thought every season you should go 162-0, did a toast with a straight face in the clubhouse with Don Zimmer going, "What are you doing?" to acknowledge winning 70 games just because that was progress from where they'd been. So to go from that group and then, transition through 06 and 07, figuring out what they were doing with Friedman and Silverman calling the shots and Madden managing and all that, and then start that run in 08 and keep it going, really, a couple lap years, and then under Cash, obviously the 5 straight years of making the playoffs. And, that kind of all feeds into why this is an interesting and somewhat critical juncture for the new owners, because there's no new stadium. They're hoping the Trop is fixed, but that's not a sure thing either. So they're going to have some flexibility for a plan B if something happens there. And they're coming off back-to-back seasons now, missing the playoffs. And baseball economics may be changing yet again. So there's going to be a lot of things. This new ownership group isn't plug and play or just take the keys and drive the car down the road. There's going to be a lot of things they're going to have to get immediately involved in.
Yeah, you mentioned the complicated legacy of Stu. I think what happens in the next ownership will also have to do with Stu, because there'll be a backside comparison as well as a front side as well.
If they lose for 10 years in a row, Stu's going to be the greatest owner in the history of owners.
Maybe Stu wasn't that bad, but you're right. And I read the article by John Romano and the employees, and, me being back coaching again, there's just it's a totally different side. And I kind of compared it to a restaurant. Like a head chef, his sous chefs could love him. The waiters could love him. But, even if you put good food on the table, but the experience isn't great, like some people may not come back to your restaurant. So, it's kind of it's very complicated. I think it's such a layered conversation. I don't know if we'll ever get, a resolute one side or the other where people loved it or hated it. I think there's just always going to be shades of gray, but
I don't agree. I don't, just interrupt you for a second. There is no right answer, because some people will hate Stu and how he ran the team. And some people will love Stu and how he ran the team. And some people are going to be both. And some people's opinion will be shaped by the context of what happened before and what happened, history, the past precedent, and what happens in the future. So, they'll be, when the Bucs are celebrating 50 years now, the Rays are at 28. When that 50-year book is written by the next round of Tampa Bay Times sports writers, it'll be interesting to see what context they put that in. Hopefully somebody will read it to me.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. Yeah, you never know. It'll be in multiple languages. Those kind of, it might not even be a book. It might just be
Probably
like a hologram or something.
You just blink your eyes and it shows up in front of your head.
Exactly. So one of the things that I was able to glean from the article that you wrote about this whole thing was there could be another short-term lease for Tropicana Field after 2028. We know that it was extended for a year because of obviously what happened this year and playing at Steinbrenner Field. But I think that's one of the big things that Rays fans need to be realistic about. Is it's not like the payroll is going to be $200 million next year. These guys already have a plan in place for a stadium. I don't know if people are going to really see that much of a difference next year, other than that they're going to be playing in Tropicana Field again, right, Mark? What are some of the big dominoes that really have to fall when it comes to the new ownership group as far as progress? Because as much as people want to blame Stu, people don't wonder where the Glazers are during the Buccaneers game days. They don't care if they're in England or in New York or whatever. They care out on the field. People are like, oh, Stu's in New York. Who cares? If the Rays are winning, you're not going to give a crap or two. If the Rays struggle next year and we don't get any news on the stadium, you're not going to feel better because it's somebody else than Stu. What are the next dominoes that need to fall? What are some of the questions that need to be answered once the Lupski and crew kind of get in there?
Yeah, we're assuming they're going to have some type of media conference, next week or the week after, and kind of share these plans. And, not to disagree with you, I personally think you're right, but maybe they are going to surprise everybody. Maybe they are going to announce they have a stadium agreement, and it would have been the greatest kept secret in the history of secrets around Tampa Bay. Or, this would not be Ray's type of strategy, but yeah, we're going to double our payroll next year, and have every agent in the game speed dialing them. Oh, if you're doubling your payroll, sign my guy, sign my guy. But yeah, maybe there is a surprise there. But I would think, probably more likely is, you see a similar type arrangement, a transitional type of year. But yeah, you want to make friends and influence people, go sign a big name free agent, something the Rays haven't done. Go build some depth, have some type of stadium agreement. Or, remember Stu Sternberg took over, wasn't it free parking for the first year if you had more than 4 people in a car? Lower beer prices. That's a pretty simple way to get people to be happy. So, yeah, we'll see what they have planned. Everything we've heard is these are very smart people. It's an interesting mix, a lot of different backgrounds from the 6 or 7 names that we have. We don't have them all. We were told that, there's prominent Tampa Bay investors. Really only 2 locals in the group, Dan Doyle and Fred Ridley. so far. So we'll see if there are indeed other locals and who they are and of what consequence and influence they have. But I'd be just curious to see. You only get one chance to make a first impression, right? And Romano and I were talking this the other day. When the Sternberg group took over, they did it right. They rented like the ballroom at the Vinoy. They did like one-on-ones with each media outlet. They were not in a hurry to get done. They answered, I think remember thinking we were kind of at the front end of the first round of interviews and at the back end of the one-on-ones. And we were there, 2-3 hours after, but everybody got everything they needed. And, have some good news to share and answer all the questions would be two of the good ways for them to start. But, they want to make a good first impression. So I'll be very curious to see how this rolls out whenever it is.
Mark, what's the kind of the biggest bullet points when you look back at this season? Obviously, a little underwhelming there. And, you had that really nice run in the middle of the season. You're like, wow, this team is really kicking, and they just couldn't really kick back on. When you look back at this season, I know there's a week left. What are some of the things that are going to stand out to you? And what do you think is probably the biggest thing that they need to rectify to get back to being competitive in the AL East?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things you can point to why they didn't play better. I do think there was some, Steinbrenner Field influence there, just to, not having any certainty, not knowing what they were going to get, some frustration, early on when they were hitting balls they thought were going to go out, weren't going out. Everybody, including myself and probably you and others, all wrote and talked about this place, the launching pad. I remember when the Pirates came in right early on, Derek Shelton had managed the Tampa Yankees, 10 years earlier, but he said it's going to be like an airport, jets taking off every inning. And it wasn't like that. And that was kind of surprising. And so I think that there was some Steinbrenner Field influence. Obviously, some key injuries, not having McClanahan all year, losing Aranda at the not the All-Star break, at the trade deadline, losing him as good as he was going. I mean, just put Aranda back in that lineup with what Junior Caminero did, with what Yandy Diaz has done, with what Brandon Lau has done. And, you see how that changes with what Chandler Simpson and or Jake Mangum have done. I mean, there's 4, 5, 6 impact players right there. And, when you take Aranda out of that, you start noticeable impact. And then the bullpen, obviously, there was that stretch where I think in about a 15 or 17 game stretch, there were 10 losses, and they all were bullpen related in some fashion, either a directly blown save or a blown lead, and then they were, surpassed later in the game. So bullpen hurt them, injuries hurt them, Steinbrenner Field hurt them. And just the inconsistency. I mean, that 25-9 run, they looked like the best team in baseball. At that point, I think Fangraphs had them at 78% chance to make the playoffs. And then they flipped it in worse. They were 9-24, and they won a couple games, and then it ended up being like 12-40 or something. They just had this horrendous stretch, and so the inconsistency and. Obviously, the way they're going now, they're finishing the season out with a bunch of young players in there getting some playing time. Maybe that helps. They've got some decisions to make. Brandon Lau has an option for next year. Pete Fairbanks has an option for next year. Adrian Hauser's a free agent. And then there's a bunch of guys headed to arbitration that weren't. I think the only 2 actual signed players for next year are Rasmussen and Diaz.
Wow, geez. So you're going to be on the horn again, looking at all these arbitration numbers, waiting to hear when these hearings are. It never ends. Last one for me, because I said this as soon as the day they traded for him. I feel like a guy like Griffin Jacks could be a candidate, that next guy to go from bullpen to the starting rotation. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, I talked to him about it whenever we were in Chicago, so a week and a half ago or so, and he's definitely up for it. He's open to it. He was a starter coming up. He said he's expecting to have a conversation with them after the season. And, it's probably a little tricky because they got to figure out, of these guys that they kind of handled carefully down the stretch, make sure everybody's good. And what are they good for next year? Pepe Obaz and Rasmussen. And what's McClanahan? What's his status? I mean, he hasn't pitched now since August of 23. And, we know how good he can be when healthy, but is he still that guy from when he gets back out there?
Unbelievable job, as always. Marc Topkin, Tampa Bay Times, TB Times _Rays. He's only making jokes with me here and, of course, with Ronnie and T-Crass. Those the Mimosa Mark that they call him. TampaBay.com /sports. I read it every day. You guys should support local. I can't say it enough, especially down the stretch here in the regular season. If something big has happened, and Marc Topkin and John Romano and the whole crew are all over it. Marc, thanks for making my show a whole hell of a lot better whenever you're on it, my friend. Enjoy the last week of the season. We'll talk soon.
All right, buddy. Thanks for having me on.
You got it, pal. Marc Topkin, Tampa Bay Times, the guy to go to. Listen, I don't trust you. Can tell me Rays news and breaking this and my source of it. Okay, fine. That's great. I'm waiting until Marc says something about it. If Marc Topkin and John Romano ain't telling me something about the Rays, it's a wait and see approach for me. Sorry, folks. Sorry, not sorry. He's the man. Like, you're all over it when you're talking to Marc Topkin. He is the best. Unbelievable. What a show today. A great start to the week. It's a beautiful thing. I love you all, man. This has been a lot of fun. We got to continue this. We got to keep this thing rolling. You see what we're doing here. We got Rays, we got USF, we got Bolts, we touched on everything. Rays, Bucs, Lightning, USF, man. Shout out to the Rowdies. Took a tough draw the other day of giving up a goal late. Our Tampa Bay Sun, we got a lot of love for them. UT, it was UT Day on Sunday there. Tino Martinez and Joe Urso were there. Really, really good stuff. Shout out to our sponsors, man. Evra Health, Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC. If you know a business that wants to sponsor us here on the program, you want to be a partner with us here on the Jay Recher podcast, give us a shout and let us know. Hit me up on all social media platforms at Jay Recher, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, everywhere. Like and subscribe on YouTube, whether you're watching the show live or on the post show. Kill that like button, man. A big thank you to Marc Topkin and Rob Higgins for joining us on the program. What a show. We're working on Chaz Nimrod. We're working on a couple of different people on the show later on this week. It's going to be fun. It's a beautiful Tuesday here in the Tampa Bay area. Get outside, man, and be safe, happy, and healthy. Treat everybody else. Treat people the way you want to be treated. That's what my dad told us as a kid growing up, and I'm going to continue to say that to the day I die. We'll see you tomorrow at noon right here on the Jay Recher podcast. We are gone. Peace out.